with the taking of the consumer banal object from the shelves of the grocery store and conflating it and crossing it with what used to be a separate category of art, namely the aesthetic object, in effacing the differentiation between those two kinds of objects, art essentially ends with Warhol. It is no longer art as a separate activity, but art and banality begin to intermix, and we begin to get the problem of contemporary art, in which absolutely any object can be put into a museum and called a work of art simply by rupturing it, its normal functionality, rupturing it from its context of banality, rupturing its normal functionality, and putting it on the inside of a museum. But I draw the line for the emergence of contemporary art actually with the shift from the art world from Paris to New York. And any time an art world shifts from one world city to another, you do have the shift into a new world age. As in the shift, let's say, from Rome and Florence to the shift to the art world in the Netherlands. During the age of the world picture, here we have the shift from Paris to New York with the abstract expressionists, and especially in the paintings of Jackson Pollock, his grand drip paintings, and the beautiful canvases of Mark Rothko, which paint the semiotic vacancies at the heart of being. We begin to get the meltdown of the modernist sort of Jungian archetypes. They're all melted down and they disintegrate. They too go down the drain, just as the Christian iconotypes had gone down the drain in the 15th and 16th centuries. And now we begin to get the age of contemporary art, which is a problematic art in which the transcendental signifieds have been deconstructed. Being has now abandoned beings, and we can no longer say, as Gadamer does in Truth and Method, that the work of art is simply an avatar of being that increases the being of what it represents, since there is no longer a pre-established understanding of what it means to be in the world in this age. Each artist has to construct his or her own understanding of being. Each artist in the epoch of contemporary art, which is a post-metaphysical art, precisely because each artist idiosyncratically constructs his own world, his own private semiosphere with its own logic, and they cannot be compared, and they cannot be the art. Let's say the world of a James Turrell is so distinctly different from the world of a Bruce Nauman or a Susan Rothenberg that they're entirely different worlds altogether. So there has been a breakdown of being and the construction of these world islands. Each artist is a kind of monk or priest who officiates over the practice of his own mysteries, like a priest in the ancient Hellenistic world of the mystery cults, in which the beholder is simply initiated into the world of the private semiosphere of the artist. And art becomes now a real challenge because meaning has crumbled. The metaphysical age has collapsed into a vast midden heap of discarded signifiers, ruptured signifieds, and semiotic vacancies that now have to be filled with new forms. And so the artist has to fish through this midden heap, as Anselm Kiefer does in that film Over Your City's Grass Will Grow, in which we see him at La Rabote actually sifting through the metaphysical midden heap, the collapsed midden heap, the rubbish heap that represents the rupture, the final end of the metaphysical age, that the artist is now a fisherman of forms who has to pull out forms and hybridize them, the old signifiers, which are removed from their old contexts, and they have to be re-territorialized, recoded to suit a new semiosphere and new semiotics with new cultural hybrids that have entirely new and unprecedented meanings, which they've never had before. Which is why when one encounters an artist like Joseph Beuys, let's say, one stands there so puzzled before his art. His art is unintelligible until you learn what his private code for the art is. Then it becomes intelligible. And that's a new thing in art. Each artist is the priest of his own mysteries. And so that's what this book is about. It's an analysis of the works of 12 or 13 artists like Damien Hirst and Anish Kapoor and Christian Boltanski and Anselm Kiefer and Gerhard Richter, and how they dialogue with being, or how they try to salvage from being these and fill these semiotic vacancies with ruptured signifiers that have new and unprecedented meanings that have to be recoded for an age in which meaning is no longer a matter of binarity, of truth and falsity, but of degree.